My wife is Amy Grant, fellow singer and songwriter. It's just a testament to how much I care about her, how dear she is to me in my life.
For over 4 decades, Vince Gill has been one of country music's purest voices, the man who could make an entire crowd fall silent with just a single note. From heartbreak ballads to soul-stirring love songs, his music has always come from a place of honesty. But behind that gentle smile and soothing tone, fans have long whispered about rumors, about his health, his family, and what really happened behind the curtain of fame. Now, at 67 years old, Vince Gill is finally breaking his silence. For years, he stayed humble, avoiding gossip and controversy. But time has a way of changing people. Recently, Gill sat down for a rare, heartfelt conversation, one that has left fans emotional and reflective. What he shared wasn't about fame, money, or awards. It was about truth, the kind that only comes from a man who's lived, lost, and learned. From his early struggles in Oklahoma to the heights of the Grand Ole Opry, Gill's story is one of faith, forgiveness, and finding peace after pain. And when he finally addressed the rumors about his health, his marriage, and his life after tragedy, what he revealed was both heartbreaking and deeply human. This is the story of Vince Gill's long-awaited confession. The moment he finally let the world see the man behind the music, long before the fame, the Grammys, and the bright lights of Nashville, Vince Gill was just a small-town boy with a big dream. Born in Norman, Oklahoma on April 12, 1957, he grew up surrounded by the sounds of gospel, bluegrass, and country music. His father, a federal judge and part-time musician, taught him the basics of guitar, banjo, and fiddle. From the start, it was clear. Music wasn't just a hobby for Vince. It was his way of life. Gill often spoke about how his childhood was simple but meaningful. His home wasn't rich, but it was filled with laughter, faith, and family. That down-to-earth upbringing became the emotional foundation for everything he would later write and sing about. "I learned early that music could heal," he once said. "It could make a bad day better, and it could make people feel less alone." In high school, Vince started performing in local bluegrass bands. He wasn't chasing fame, he just wanted to play. But even then, his extraordinary voice stood out. It was smooth, soulful, and completely sincere. People in small Oklahoma bars would stop talking just to listen. There was something about the way Vince sang. It didn't feel performed. It felt lived. After graduation, he took a leap of faith and moved to Louisville, Kentucky, joining a bluegrass group called Bluegrass Alliance, and later, Ricky Skaggs's Boone Creek. Those early years were full of long drives, small audiences, and endless rehearsals. Money was tight, but Gill's passion never wavered. He believed every small stage was a stepping stone towards something greater. Eventually, he moved to Los Angeles, where he joined the country rock band Pure Prairie League. It was there that Vince first tasted real fame, singing lead vocals on their hit song Let Me Love You Tonight. The song reached the top of the charts, and for the first time, Gill's voice was being heard across America. But success didn't come easy. The pressure of constant touring and the chaos of the music industry began to wear him down. Behind the scenes, Vince was struggling, not with fame, but with direction. He loved music, but the Hollywood lifestyle didn't suit him. He missed the simplicity of home, the kind of life where people still cared about honesty and heart. "I didn't want to be a star," he later said. "I just wanted to play songs that meant something." By the mid-1980s, Gill made a life-changing decision. He packed up and moved to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. It was a bold move that would redefine his entire career. In Nashville, he found not only success, but also a community that shared his values. He began writing songs that came straight from his soul, about love, heartbreak, faith, and forgiveness. His 1989 album, When I Call Your Name, changed everything. The title track became a massive hit, earning him his first Grammy Award and establishing him as one of country music's finest storytellers. Suddenly, Vince Gill wasn't just another singer. He was a voice people trusted, a man who could make you cry with a song and heal you in the same breath. But as his fame grew, so did the whispers, quiet rumors about the toll that success was taking on his personal life. Some said the constant touring was wearing him down. Others claimed that behind that charming smile was a man struggling with loneliness. Still, Gill never let the gossip define him. He poured everything into his music, letting his songs speak where his words could not. He often said, "Every song I sing has a piece of my truth in it." And for Vince Gill, truth was never about perfection. It was about heart. By the early 1990s, Vince Gill had become one of the brightest stars in country music. His voice, pure, emotional, and effortless, had made him a favorite among both fans and fellow artists. Songs like "I Still Believe in You" and "Go Rest High on That Mountain" weren't just hits. They were healing hymns for broken hearts. To the world, Vince seemed unstoppable, a man living his dream. But behind the curtain, he was carrying pain that few people ever saw. Success had its price. Long tours, sleepless nights, and endless press commitments began to wear down the humble man from Oklahoma. At home, life wasn't as picture-perfect as it appeared. His first marriage to singer Janice Oliver was under strain. The two had met years earlier when Vince was still an aspiring musician, and their love had grown through shared struggle. But fame changes everything, not because of arrogance, but because of absence. Vince was on the road constantly, missing family moments, birthdays, and quiet evenings at home. Rumors began to swirl, whispers about marital tension, exhaustion, and emotional distance. The tabloids painted stories of fame gone wrong, but the truth was simpler and sadder. Vince Gill was a man torn between his calling and his conscience. He loved his music, but it was taking him away from the people he loved most. When asked about those years, Gill once admitted softly, "Music saved me, but it also cost me." Despite the personal turmoil, his artistry reached new heights. Every song he released seemed to carry a deeper layer of emotion. "Whenever You Come Around" became a haunting love ballad that fans believed reflected his own loneliness. Whether or not the rumors were true, his pain was undeniable, and it echoed in every line he sang. Then came one of the most defining moments of his career and life. In 1993, Vince lost his close friend and fellow musician Keith Whitley to alcoholism. The loss devastated him. Gill wrote "Go Rest High on That Mountain" as a tribute, but it took him years to finish because the emotions were too raw. When he finally recorded it, the song became one of country music's most emotional masterpieces, a spiritual anthem about grief, loss, and the hope of reunion. That song would later take on even deeper meaning when tragedy struck again years later. But at the time, it became a turning point. Fans began to see that Vince's strength didn't come from perfection. It came from pain transformed into art. By the mid-90s, his career was at its peak. Awards flooded in, 22 Grammys, countless CMAs, and membership in the Grand Ole Opry. Yet even at the height of success, Vince remained humble. When asked about fame, he often said, "I don't want to be remembered for trophies. I want to be remembered for the way my songs made people feel." Still, the rumors never stopped. Some said he was quietly battling depression. Others whispered about his growing closeness to contemporary Christian singer Amy Grant, who was herself navigating a difficult season in her marriage. Neither Vince nor Amy addressed the speculation, but fans could sense something was changing. There was a gentleness in their duets, an emotional honesty that went beyond performance. Behind closed doors, Vince was searching for balance, for peace in a world that demanded more than he could give. He later admitted that during those years, he learned a painful truth. You can have everything you ever dreamed of, and still feel like something's missing. The man who could move millions with his voice was, in many ways, singing for himself, trying to find healing through melody. The public saw the smile, the charm, the polished performances. But those close to him saw the tears, the long silences, and the deep fatigue that came from carrying the weight of both fame and heartbreak. It would take a few more years and one extraordinary love story for Vince Gill to finally find the peace he'd been chasing all along. By the late 1990s, Vince Gill had lived through enough emotional storms to last a lifetime. His marriage to Janice Oliver was nearing its quiet end, and whispers about his growing friendship with Amy Grant had reached every corner of Nashville. Both were respected, faith-driven artists, and both had been open about their personal struggles, which made the rumors even louder. Amy Grant, known as the Queen of Christian Pop, had been navigating her own marital challenges with musician Gary Chapman. When she and Vince began collaborating on songs and performing together, something deeper began to form between them. A connection rooted not in fame, but in understanding. The media, of course, pounced. Headlines painted them as the newest scandal of country music. The church girl and the cowboy, some called it. But away from the flashing cameras, the story was far more human. Two hearts, bruised and tired, had found comfort in one another's company. Vince later admitted that he and Amy had met long before they ever imagined being together. "I knew there was something special about her," he said in one interview. "She was the kind of They began working on duets, including House of Love, a song that seemed to mirror their real lives. Two souls searching for grace amidst chaos. Every time they sang together, audiences felt a spark that couldn't be denied. And while the world speculated about whether that spark was real, Vince and Amy stayed silent, letting the music speak for them. By 1997, both had officially ended their previous marriages. But rather than rush into public displays of affection, they took their time, quietly building a bond that was founded on friendship, faith, and forgiveness. In 2000, the rumors finally ended when Vince Gill and Amy Grant married in a small, heartfelt ceremony in Nashville. It wasn't a Hollywood spectacle. There were no flashing lights, no magazine exclusives, just two people who had been through heartbreak and found hope again. For Vince, the marriage represented a turning point, not just personally but spiritually. He had always believed in the healing power of music, but Amy helped him rediscover the healing power of love. Together, they blended their families, raising children from previous marriages alongside their own daughter, Karina. The transition wasn't easy. There were critics who accused them of betraying their faith or their families, but Amy once responded with quiet grace, saying, "God doesn't waste anything, not even our mistakes. He can make something beautiful from broken things." That philosophy deeply resonated with Vince. In his music, he began to lean even more into themes of redemption and grace. His live performances took on a new tenderness, especially when Amy would join him on stage. Their duets weren't just performances. They were love letters sung in harmony. Still, not everything was easy. Fame followed them both, and scrutiny was constant. Every word, every glance was analyzed. But as years passed, the noise faded, replaced by admiration for a couple who had weathered public judgment with humility and faith. Vince never tried to rewrite history or deny his flaws. He once reflected, "I've made choices that hurt people I care about. But I've also learned that honesty and forgiveness are the only ways forward." That kind of honesty became his trademark, both in life and in song. Their marriage blossomed into one of country music's most enduring love stories. Fans began to see what had been there all along. Two broken souls who helped each other heal. Their home became a sanctuary of music, laughter, and family, a place where faith and art coexisted beautifully. And perhaps the most powerful thing about their relationship wasn't how it began, but how it endured. Through illness, loss, and changing times, Vince and Amy stood side by side, not as two perfect people, but as two imperfect hearts that refused to give up on grace. By the time the world finally accepted their love, Vince had long stopped caring what anyone thought. He once said, "You reach a point where peace matters more than approval." That peace became his new definition of success, not gold records or awards, but the quiet joy of knowing he had finally found the person who understood both his music and his soul. As the curtain of time drew closer around his legendary career, Vince Gill had nothing left to prove, yet the world still had questions. For decades, rumors had followed him, whispers of hidden pain, secret struggles, and a quiet battle behind that ever-gentle smile. Some claimed he was planning to retire. Others speculated about his health, his faith, or the meaning behind the haunting new songs he performed. But at 67, Vince decided to speak his truth, not through headlines, but through the only language he truly trusted, music. It happened during a series of intimate shows in Nashville, where he reflected openly on his life and legacy. Sitting on stage with only a guitar and a microphone, Vince looked out over the quiet audience and smiled. There were no flashing lights, no elaborate production, just the voice that had carried millions through heartbreak and hope. "People have told stories about me for years," he said softly. "Some true, some not. But if you've listened to my songs, then you already know my story. Every note, every lyric, it's all been me." Then, for the first time, Vince confirmed what fans had long suspected, that his later music carried pieces of his real journey, his grief over losing loved ones, his struggles with faith, and his deep gratitude for the second chance at love he found with Amy Grant. He spoke tenderly about her, about how her faith had changed him. "When Amy prays," he said with a faint smile, referencing his song, "I feel like heaven gets a little closer. She's the calm I never knew I needed." The audience sat in absolute silence, every word hanging in the air like a confession years in the making. Vince didn't shy away from pain either. He talked about the losses that had shaped him, from his father and brother to the friends he'd said goodbye to along the road. He admitted that fame had often been a lonely place. "You can be in front of thousands of people," he said, "and still feel like you're standing alone." But then he smiled and added, "The truth is, I wouldn't trade any of it. Every heartbreak taught me something. Every mistake brought me closer to grace." That night, the rumors the world had wondered about for years, his health, his peace, his faith, were all answered in the simplest way possible. Vince wasn't hiding a tragedy. He was revealing a truth, that even after all the fame, all the pain, and all the music, he had finally found peace. He sang "Go Rest High on That Mountain" as his encore, dedicating it not to a single person, but to everyone I've ever loved and lost. His voice, though older, carried more weight than ever before, fragile, human, and achingly beautiful. Many in the audience wiped away tears, knowing they were witnessing not just a performance, but a man closing a chapter of his life with gratitude. In a later interview, Vince summarized it best. "People always ask what the secret is, how you stay happy after all these years. I tell them it's not happiness, it's peace. You stop trying to be perfect. You forgive, you love, and you thank God for another day." At 67, Vince Gill wasn't announcing an ending. He was confirming a truth that had been hiding in plain sight, that the greatest thing he ever achieved wasn't fame or fortune. It was grace. Soft acoustic guitar fades in. Old footage plays, Vince smiling backstage, Amy watching from the side of the stage. From small-town Oklahoma to the heart of Nashville, Vince Gill's journey was never about glory. It was about truth. He turned sorrow into song, mistakes into lessons, and love into something everlasting. At 67, Vince Gill didn't just confirm the rumors, and he rewrote them. He showed the world that real legends aren't remembered for their fame, but for the grace they leave behind.